Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our podcast series where we host our portfolio companies, the ones that have achieved quite a lot of milestones since we invested in them. And today we have here Fidan with us, who is based in London, living there, and who has founded her company there. It's quite an interesting journey that she has and a very interesting problem to solve actually. But first of all, I would like to start with this question: that who is Fidan? What's her background? How she came up with this idea that she is the one who should be solving this problem that makes EV charging accessible for everyone. So please, Fidan.
Uh, Thank you very much, Samir, for inviting me to this series. Um, uh, Happy to be here and to tell my story to everyone who may be interested in hearing it. My name is Fidan, and I'm the founder of Beworks Automation. And Beworks is a clean tech engineering startup that designs and develops accessible electric vehicle charging solutions designed for public charging purposes. So the company is based in the UK, and so I'm based in London myself, but the company operations and product development, it's based a bit of on the southeast side, southeast of England. Why me? Why I decided to pursue this journey? Well, first of all, it didn't happen obviously overnight. I used to be working for a startup, for a tech startup before it was in London. I actually spent more than 4 years in the startup, and then it helped me understand the challenges of navigating the startup, working with founders, really being agile, and having this opportunity to problem solve many issues, like straight away make risky decisions, and at the same time accomplish milestones faster than any regular company would do. So that gave me an experience and transferable skills that I could take with myself and apply into my future job or my new business venture. So while I was working in a startup, I also was really excited and interested in following the trends, understanding what's happening, what's about to happen, what's becoming an innovation, what is here to stay. So this is why it kind of accelerated my interest, especially at the point when I decided to leave the company and start up the business. Just because I already had previous working experience and education in the United Kingdom, that gave me relatively more experience in really incorporating the company in the United Kingdom, although it may sound very challenging, difficult also, because there may be so many steps and can be a bit intimidating for many people. I thought it would be a good idea to test my assumption first, to really understand if this would be a good point to accelerate, to build something from scratch, to really solve the problem. And why I decided to choose this sector: the sector that I was previously involved in was in tech, but it wasn't necessarily in engineering or electric vehicle charging. So we mainly I tried to apply the experience in problem solving, in sustainability, in the technological innovation, but then I decided to look into the problems that are currently present in this entire sector. Because when we say green energy, it's quite a vague kind of a concept. People don't necessarily understand why they need to get into green energy, why they need to make everything sustainable. But then building startups can be difficult, especially if some people want to create a startup because they're bored of the 9 to 5 job. But then that shouldn't be the point. It must be really, are you making difference? Is there a problem, a burning problem that needs solving? And do you have a solution for that? So that's what I did. I actually spent relatively more time at the beginning on really understanding the problem statement, understanding the challenges, and then building the company or the concept based on that. So another aspect that also impacted my decision in pursuing career in the EV charging and solar energy sectors. It was because from my family background as well. I was born in in the family of engineers. My brother, my father, everyone, they're just engineering geeks, and I've actually grown. I kept growing through understanding the different engineering concepts and building prototypes from the very early age. So that really impacted and gave me more passion in really understanding and going further on building the startup.
So, quite an interesting story you have. So it's not like a bottom up. In your case, it's like a very top bottom where you try to explore the opportunities, try to see what's there for you that you can be engaged in, and whatever skills you have, whatever power you have, basically the strength of being an engineer, coming from the family and using all these things. So you came up with this idea that okay, there's a gap in EV charging, especially for those who are not as lucky as we are, where we have all the uh, basically, well, it's not the same, right? Because whenever we were in London, even in the metro stations, we can see those wheelchair signs where so this one is accessible, and probably more than even 50% of those stations have actually been designed in a way that it's very accessible. So, have you ever thought that okay, so this is a problem here in UK, but what if you uh, expand into other countries? So how do you observe this trend of making everything accessible for people? So how is this? Because in US, probably it's not a really big thing as it is in the UK, right? So what are the
Mhm.
trends on that? How do you see that?
Yeah, good question. And this was one of the important questions that some of the stakeholders or investors kept asking me at the beginning. So, why do you focus on accessibility in the context of EV charging? And because if you just kind of narrow down your customer base to people who may need more inclusive EV charging solutions, it means that you are excluding yourself from other, customer personas or those who may need just regular charging experience. So again, and then at that point, what I'm trying to say is that by once we provide accessible electric vehicle charging solutions, and by solutions here we mean building, designing charging stations. So we focus and specialize in building inclusive design charging stations that can be used by any customer groups. So by that we mean
Mm.
that rather than focusing on providing just standard charging boxes, charging stations for people to charge their vehicles, we bring this added market value by also including those underrepresented communities, those who also want to be part of this EV transition, but cannot do so because they don't find the technology accessible enough. So that really actually means adding this extra market share rather than excluding or kind of limiting our approach to those maybe disabled or elderly drivers. So this is not how we give value or provide value to our customers. So by making the chargers accessible, it doesn't necessarily mean that it looks like a very weird looking charging station that can only be used by those who use a wheelchair or those who may have hidden or even temporary disabilities. And that's absolutely fine because we are all human. Anything can happen. We may need extra help, or we may have issues with, or just even with also understanding the technology. So that also means providing straightforward technology. We may feel awkward with new technologies, especially more and more electric vehicle charging stations. All commercial players try to differentiate. So what we can do cooler to have this solution that makes us different from other EV charging solutions. So that's why they bring even more complications into the technology, and they make people really wonder whether I want to approach this charging station because I feel like this is going to make me look stupid because I don't really know how to use it, how to start the charging session. So the main point of our solutions is to really build and provide install this charging session to the customer that is easy to follow, simple steps, very straightforward, option on how to start the charging session and complete the charging session as well. And that includes ease of technology, ease of user interface, because accessibility includes so many more factors other than just making it lighter or making it easier to carry. Although we have components like easier cable management systems that simplifies and takes the load off the drivers, for example, that's only one feature that we've included, but there's so many other things that we've developed that really contributes towards having a really stress-free charging experience. So hardware element, hardware optimization is one of them, but it doesn't necessarily make it just accessible only. So it's accessible to everyone. It could be accessible to people who may have who care for someone, who have kids that they need to take care of. So it's easy to manage and maneuver around the charging cable and the charging station. So that's the main point. So this is the main point on how we can simplify, how can we make our solution more inclusive by adding, by actually bringing and considering those different customer segments as well.
Well, that's a really a good way to put it out. That so I'm not doing it for only these group of people, but this is my strategy to get into market in the first place. Because as you said,
Exactly.
EV charging is not here for. It's not something that we have been dealing with for a decade or more than a decade. This is what we have right now. Not many people know how to do it, so you basically make it as easy as possible for everyone. So
exactly.
yeah, that's wonderful. What about, well, we all know that Europe, including UK, this is a really good place to start an initiative like yours, which is focused on sustainability, reducing CO2, and many things that are on the European agenda, right? Sustainability agenda. So how this helped you? And I think you have raised some grants, you have applied some innovation programs. So how this helped you, and do you still think that okay, this was actually the best place for me to start this initiative? And what would you recommend to other people that are also trying to pursue this?
Yeah, well, definitely when looking into starting a business or incorporating a startup, most of the founders really think about how exciting their idea is, how they're going to help people. But then obviously, and this is normal because usually people and co-founders, they get excited on building the startup. They just visualize how they're going to sell it to the customer. But then some other aspects may be kind of prioritized less. So things like, are they able to really go further? Are they able to scale the business further in in a particular environment? Are they able to exit at some point of time? So what's the exit plan? They're going to sell it to a strategic competitor or go public. So these are the elements that may be less prioritized at some point, but this aspects play a very significant role as the company goes through. They make recurrent revenue. This can become this is mainly the point when some of the startups actually relocate to different countries, just because they feel that if they don't make this decision now, it's going to have the company may have a U-turn and it can just fail because of lack of opportunities, for example. So UK as a whole, it has as you can imagine, a lot of opportunities to collaborate, lots of networking opportunities, finding the right people, mentors, experts who would significantly contribute to the growth of the company. So I knew exactly that would be the case. Obviously, there's downside to it because although it is I would say startup friendly, lots of incentives and benefits for the startups, it can be difficult to you need to know exactly on how you navigate the startup so that you don't have any tax complications or implications in the future. So it's not as you have to follow the rules, and at some point you need to really understand on how you manage the profit, manage the startup, so that you really get a better position when it comes to dividends or pay dividends to shareholders, because that usually it's not as straightforward as it may sound. It's not a simple process to navigate. But other than that, when we say startup, people say, okay, the startup needs to raise funds, so definitely they need an equity investor. So compared to that point, there's the right way of saying it, that the company needs to have significant amount of money to implement the concept into reality, to test the assumption, and to build the product. But it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be investment money or equity. Startups, usually, especially in the UK, the mindset of investors is quite risk averse. So they really need to see some certain traction. And by traction, it means a validated product that has been tested and desired by the customers. And that's when they decide to invest into the company. But despite that, there's many ways where the startup can raise money to really test the assumption, to build the prototype. And in my case, it wasn't really easy because, as you can imagine, we are a hardware startup, so we can't really use a software simulation to simply build a charging station and then clearly tell them about the benefits. So there's a bit of a testing scenario where we need to simulate the environment where a wheelchair user may need to grab the cable to pull it through, see if it's easy enough to connect to the vehicle. Everything can be tested online to some extent, but in our case, we needed some real people, real scenarios, and the real prototype to kind of convince the investors that yes, this is working, this is a fully working product. People need this, people want to buy this, so to prove this point. So it was a bit of a chicken and an egg situation, and we knew that if we are not able to achieve or to get early stage investor funding at the beginning, we need to tap into different funding opportunities in the UK. So one of them was, so I did different I had great stories with people, how we engaged with people and how we managed to raise funding. So some of them were crowdfunding campaign. So we did a bit of a crowdfunding across the UK. That really helped raise brand awareness significantly. People didn't even know about the fact that there was a company called Beworks Automation who was trying to raise funds and to build something accessible. They really resonate. Some people resonated through the audience. They realized that, and they reached out to me, said that, oh, my mother is having arthritis issues, and we wanted to get her an electric vehicle, but she's struggling and she's reluctant to she doesn't feel confident that the infrastructure is accessible enough for her. So they felt really connected with the cause, and they sent donations and funding. So that it really helped us generate significant amount of money and connect to the audience to create our own community that supported us and supported the startup. And after that helped us build the prototype, the initial stages of the prototype, design it further. And after that, we were able to be more confident in front of investors. And so it helped us raise a bit of angel investment straight after crowdfunding. And then we also reached out, as we were progressing down the line, we reached out to other grant opportunities. There's significant grant opportunities in the UK, especially one organization called Innovate UK. So they allocate funding to many startups, innovative based and scalability focused startups that are building something innovative, that are really creating social impact in the economy. So we managed to raise another £70,000 through Innovate UK, fully funded startups. No equity was required, and that really helped us de-risk our product environment further, connect with inclusive design specialists, and to really kind of build our position much stronger when pitching for investment to venture capital or institutional investors. And that really helped us to be more confident on stage, to grow our team, to bring more engineers, because it's not about investors only, but also about whether people believe in your product and also whether they want to work for you. So that's another thing, because people, if they believe in the idea, because you need to pitch pitch, especially when at early stages you do not have much of the benefits compared to the corporates, and you can't really give them higher salaries. But then you can, if they really understand, if they're passionate, if you share this passion and understanding on where the company is going to go, and if you're able to attract this talent, that's another big milestone for startups. I think it's something to be proud of too.
Yeah. That it
Yeah.
definitely is. And there are a lot of big companies, corporations basically, who are interested in being innovative, right? Even those who are actually the ones extracting fossil fuels, right now they're switching into a business that is more renewable energy friendly, and also they also try to be more active with these sustainability issues and also EV charging. So one of these companies were Shell, basically, and you have been
Mhm.
accepted to their innovation program. So,
Yeah.
how was your journey in that program? How did you get accepted there, and how has it helped you? And how do you see their role in your industry in what you're doing? So, could you please talk a
Yeah.
bit about that?
Of course. I previously, even before joining Shell, I was always out and about. In my main objective was to really get to know as many people as possible, because you never know who you're going to meet and how they can impact your life and the journey of the startup. So previously, I joined quite a few accelerator programs that really helped from the business perspective, but I always felt there was this gap where I couldn't really align my expectations with the accelerator program, which would significantly impact the technological side of things. Obviously, there's a lot of things that can be improved on how I manage the startup as a founder or from the business perspective, but it's really difficult to find that niche accelerator that specializes in sustainability, renewables, EV charging, that is able to kind of add this insightful expertise into what we do, into our direction, or even challenge us further, maybe saying that I don't really think you're doing the right thing. So, and it gives you a bit of a kind of a real understanding. Okay, so not everyone says it's great, but someone says there's something wrong, so maybe it's worth looking into it. So I really needed this type of a disruptive program or experience that would help me take a step back and see, okay, this is what I need to be focusing on, because other things don't matter if the core of the business is not managed or adjusted correctly. So that's when I actually applied to Shell Startup through someone who referred me to it in the
Hmm.
UK. So they felt we had a great cause, but they felt we were at the early stage and we needed to clarify a few things in our value proposition to make our story clear to everyone, especially the fact that we don't necessarily just focus on the very small niche customer segments. So really needed to take our story out there to really understand, identify the challenges around product development, and see if it's the right thing, a set of things to do in before we commercialize our product. After a couple of interviews, I was lucky enough to be shortlisted, and then I was selected out of, I think there were like thousands of startups applying from UK and outside of UK, and the fact that the program was free, so we didn't have to pay any extra fees to join the program, that made it even more kind of exciting for me, because it meant that I could benefit from all this network, because Shell network is amazing. You can tap into the expertise, not necessarily just in EV charging, but they can help you with the entire navigation of the globalization trends, because EV
Hmm.
charging standalone, it won't help. You need to really understand all the points around renewables, how it can work together with, contributing to the sustainable green energy sector, but not just by mainly focusing analytically. So looking into the more of the long term plans, and so I was as soon as I was shortlisted and selected to be among those 10 startups, we were assigned 3 or 4 mentors, and those mentors were directly, working for Shell, and they had vast amount of experience that they could share based on real solutions and real projects that they've implemented. And by projects we mean like global projects. So that really helped me to really understand corporate startup collaboration as well, because startup pace is slightly different compared to how corporates like Shell or BP operate. So it really, especially if startups want to collaborate their forces, their power together with the corporates, they really need to understand on how they approach the corporates as well. So that was an eye-opening experience for me, to really building the trust on, because companies like Shell, they don't just pick you and then decide to work with you. It's a time-taking process that, step by step, it may take years or even months to really convince that your product is the right one to be used, and also identify the different ways on how your product can be utilized with the companies like Shell. Maybe it's about licensing your product. Maybe it's utilizing the different aspects of the product, or to make it as a new business proposition or business model. So we really explored this. I was also challenged on the specific action points that I want to take in order to take my product from the prototyping phase and to the commercializing phase. So I was given, so I expanded my network. I got so many introductions in the compliance testing that really helped me take the business further, speaking to the right people. So it was a 3-month accelerated program, but the great thing about it is that after the demo day, which was in November 2023, the great thing is I still keep in touch with the mentors, because it's not like the program ended, that's it. No, we still keep in touch. We still exchange emails, meet for a cup of coffee. So yeah, it's great, because I was able to tap into this network, and depending on how approachable you are, you can still keep and nurture this business relationship, and you can use it for your own benefit. And that's what I'm trying to do here, because you never know what can come
Exactly.
out of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, and a lot of contradictive opinions, like before you, actually, as our first episode, I had a chance to host one of our portfolio companies, and one of the founders, they were advocating that, for me, talking to founders are far more valuable than getting the insights from the corporate gurus, because they are not as agile as we are. They're not seeing the world as we see. But how you say here is that it's also interesting that, so it really depends on the business,
No,
depends on the
absolutely.
startup, right?
And also
Because
it depends on the directions. So in our case, there is a high potential on how we can work and get paid by corporates. So we developed, we actually implemented proof of value project with Shell in one of their futuristic EV charging hubs in Fulham, London. So they gave me this opportunity for free to literally build this project on Shell premises, which outside of the program, this would have never been possible, because if they don't know you're a startup, you're an early stage startup, which is, still fundraising. It's almost like inexhaustible for them. They may have
exactly,
seen thousands of companies like us, for example, but this opportunity was so exclusive that it gave you literally asked them what you needed, and they made it happen. And I think this is when I realized that, okay, they don't seem to be so intimidating from the outside as most people say. It's just really using it to your own benefit, and you can really shape this journey nicely if you know what you ask, if you know what you need to achieve. The only thing that corporates don't like is when you are not certain in your decisions. So if they ask you what you want to achieve, they want to, you need to be able to say why you want this. So why do you want to implement a proof of value project? What is it going to give you? And that's when, if they see that you are certain, where you want to go, that's when they know what to do. Because otherwise, as you can imagine, the process may take more time, given that there's so many departments and the decision-making process is not as straightforward as it may be for startups. But in the end, the opportunities that you may access through them is
yeah.
unimaginable.
Exactly, exactly. It's very valuable to have partners, very very big partners. At the end of the day, you can be your customer, you can be an investor, you can be your
especially with the
exit strategy.
scalability. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And we talked a little bit about your own story. We talked a little bit about the product and the market and how you funded it through grants, equity investments, VC investments, and angel investments. So, but if you talk about the current state of the product and also how you envision it and how you forecast this year and maybe the next year, if we can talk about a little bit on the plans
Yeah.
and the action, it would be very great.
hmm So our story was in such way that once we've validated the concept, we didn't necessarily just wait until we close the funding round and then start building, because that would, especially with EV charging sector, it's so dynamic, and you can see in the UK and US there's so many different companies who penetrate the market. It's open. Although you may have heard of so many EV charging companies or solutions already, both hardware and software, the 95% of the market in the UK is open. So it's not even oversaturated. Although it may sound that the more and more companies get into the EV charging sector with their innovative solutions. So still the market is open. It's still is actively taking new ideas into the market. So in my case, while we started getting some funding, either through Innovate UK or some angel investment, we kept building and validating the concept. So prototyping and redesigning if necessary, validating it with focus groups, and that led to a point where now we've completed the prototype. So we've got the fully working technical prototype that was completed literally straight after we've closed the funding round, and that's the point when we were happy and satisfied with how we want to proceed. We've got our design and electrical specifications ready, so we were able to actually embark on a more exciting, more customer facing journey, which has started from July this year. So right now, just because we've moved into manufacturing optimization phase, so it's going to be as a process of simply understanding how we're going to optimize our pricing, at the same time understand what price we want to give to the customer, and how we are going to get into volume production. What are the scalability plans? And so this is all going to inform and shape our manufacturing strategy, which is so the plan here is to start manufacturing units in batch build. So we're talking about starting with 5 to 10 units for the customer. So the manufacturing going to start in September this year. It's going to take about especially because it's the first batch, we're extremely cautious on how we want to make it work, and we're hoping and envisioning for the official launch to start. So basically, us installing and deploying the charging stations for the customers in mid-November. So we strictly try to follow this, and we make sure that our stakeholders and suppliers follow this timelines as well, because it's really important to stay on top of the expectations, because we've already gave some promises to the customers, and we believe that we are kind of moving ahead in the right direction. So right now, basically, what we are up to is we are optimizing our pricing, because we've got everything ready, bill of materials, we know who we're going to buy from. We're just trying to get the best pricing possible so that we can get some healthy margin going forward, and at the same time identifying the ways on how we're going to deliver the products to our customers, because there are some customers who are waiting for the product in the UK.
Yeah. So my last two questions actually will be about the fact that it doesn't matter whether you're in a UK or in US, Europe, doesn't matter how the demographics are diverse. At the end of the day, we all identify with our nationality, with us being from our country, right? In our case, it's Azerbaijan. And how do you leverage your connection to our country, and maybe some challenges, maybe some difficulties that you say, or maybe some advantages that you have used, you being there and having a connection from here. So what would you say to the people who are watching you right now, and what they can do, what
Yes.
you have done?
Yeah, well, especially because this is a very important kind of element of how I function and navigate. Because although I studied here, I worked here, and then I kind of the company is based in the UK. I know I know my roots, I know my connections, and I at the same time I also try to do something that would have mutual benefits both for the community out there, but also at the same time community benefits to Beworks. So it's kind of a mutual benefits that I'm also kind of pursuing. With Azerbaijan, there's I actually well, I can't deny this. There was so much influence and impact coming from my country. Definitely, initial kind of early believers, angel investors, or other, specifically at the point when the company was so new, so risky. But some people who significantly helped, especially the company, the Caucasus Ventures, was also part of our journey. Early, kind of started at the very early stages as well. So that really, from the investment landscape, we have company the investors who are based in Azerbaijan, but at the same time, most of all the people. I used the platform, many different pitch competitions in Azerbaijan, like Baku ID. I came for COP29 as well. So really utilized this network to both my advantage, but at the same time tapped into different ecosystems in Azerbaijan and realized that they need people like me. I need people like them. So there's kind of mutually inclusive different parts of the system, because they can only operate if they get and access many startups, many diverse startups from different countries, or with the element of nationality, whether it's the company operation, whether it's the founder or nationality. So this is why I really keep in touch from that perspective. At the same time, recently we've collaborated through another organization who helped me kind of really understand and detect new graduates who are from Azerbaijan as well, to bring them into the attract them into the startup while they study here, and maybe they have plans to go back to Azerbaijan, but while kind of utilizing their time here to gain experience, to really understand what it means to work in a startup, but at the same time utilize their skills, their passion, how excited they are to be part of the UK startup. So that really gives me, first of all, from the technical point of view, it helps me develop my leadership skills. That's for sure. At the same time, it helps me really expose them to this kind of dynamic sector, because they are able to really understand maybe the opportunity that they may not have in Azerbaijan on a more kind of regular basis. They have this opportunity to really understand what it means building an electric vehicle charging product. So really hands-on experience on real-time solutions. At the same time, it helps me kind of keep this bond, keep this belonging, and the fact that I can do my own bit in really helping my community, helping people from my country to really understand the innovation and take it further with them. And maybe they can educate or give this, share those insights with their, followers in Azerbaijan, maybe people who they come across in Azerbaijan. So making real impact. So because it's like a butterfly effect, you train someone and they get inspired by you or by the company, and they take it further, and that's how the impact is made. And one last thing on the impact is I'm exploring opportunities in Azerbaijan. Especially, I do keep in touch with many organizations from Azerbaijan, both public and private, to really explore and develop their R&D, research and development expertise in Azerbaijan. So really developing this further, the test bed experience on how we can build products, how can people and young engineers can learn from the experience, and how we can exchange, experts from the United Kingdom to Azerbaijan. So it's not just startup related, but more of a bigger picture related. And I'm trying to do as much as I can to contribute to this.
I love how you described it. It's not only about giving, it's not only about getting, but this symbiosis that you have built, whether you are leveraging your connections here, your roots, and also you're giving back kind of with an impact that you are doing, especially with being so open to work with Azerbaijani students. Actually, a lot of people from Azerbaijan study in the UK, by the way. So it's really a smart way
It's a
to.
challenge to find a job here.
Yeah, exactly. For them, you are a reference, and for you, they are people who can learn, who can make a real impact. Um, Wonderful. So, as I told you in the very beginning, we don't really want to keep this too long. But I mean, it's always a great pleasure to talk to you. But if you would conclude this podcast with a couple of words that you might say, I don't know, people who are watching you, people who want to be like you, and people who want to just need some courage, to be in a
Hmm.
journey as you are, because it's just being in another country is another thing, and doing a startup there is another thing. It's like out of the comfort zone of the comfort zone. So
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
yeah, how you can describe this, and how you can maybe give some comments, recommendations, any other thing that
Yeah,
you would like to say.
I'll just I'll give a few insights or from my experience on what I would want people to consider. First of all, if they already have some idea in mind, because we hear from our friends or back in Azerbaijan that people have great ideas. They think it's worth building a business and doing something, and they keep meeting up and discussing this over years and years and years. So one thing I would say is to you don't necessarily have to invest a lot of money into building a business. Like by business, I mean a startup. So I would say try to test the assumptions as soon as possible, just to really, in order to understand whether it's worth exploring or not. So do it in small steps, but do it fast. If you have an idea, just spend some, you don't have to kind of leave your full-time job, but do it as soon as you can, because everything is evolving, the infrastructure, the ecosystem changes. So if you think there's something that you can bring into the economy and make change, test your assumption ASAP. And by testing it, I mean consult, speak with experts, see if there's don't just look for validation, just look for some difficult questions. So people may say, I don't think it's going to work, and you can say why you can, right, really find the idea or find the solution. If you can validate your argument, then great. But then, yeah, so some people say it's risky because you need to give up your job. So that's why testing your assumption earlier in along the journey would help you kind of mitigate those risks from the beginning. And at the same time, don't necessarily build the business to just attract investors. So make sure there's a value for your business. Make sure you know exactly how you're going to solve the problem, how you're going to build it. You don't have to say, like, this is where I'm going to be exactly on day 3015, but just say, this is the plan that I'm working towards. And then just have some steps laid out so that you know that this is what you want to achieve, and the small steps, kind of breaking this down further. And that's when you understand whether it's worth pursuing this or not. But at the same time, I would say it's also important to understand when you need to stop and leave the journey. So it's something that people don't talk about, but then pivoting is the right, because people keep spending lots of money on something they think it's going to work. We just need to spend endless nights. But it's important to really take a step back and pivot around the problem. Maybe you need to change your business direction. Maybe you need to change your value proposition or even the product. So don't be afraid to kind of change the flow if necessary. I would rather do it at the beginning rather than realize that it's been a chaos and it's really difficult to make changes now. But as I said, keep your expectations low with fundraising, especially because you never know what to expect with investors. Investors' expectations can be high, especially as depending on the countries. But one thing is that's important is that if you know that this is a certain amount of money that you need to bring your idea into reality, look for other options. Tap into banks, grant opportunities. There's many banks, especially in the Central Asia, who really support founders who are originating from, let's say, Azerbaijan or countries nearby in the same region. So there's always definitely a hope. So as soon as, and once this grant funding helps you stay on a track, that's when you're able to stay in front of the investor and say that this is what we've achieved without your money, but now we need your help to guide us further, to help us get into a position where we can scale faster. So yeah, definitely look for different options. There's always a plan B.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. A lot of desperation here when startup founders come to a point and they say like, nobody believes in me, nobody believes in my idea. But as you said, there's always a way out. There's always probably you have had this, right? I'm quitting.
Yes.
This is my last.
I'm talking from experience. I mean, it's not just words. I'm talking from experience. I had maybe hundred thousands of rejections in the past, but again, and again, these rejections actually helped me refine my business model. It's not like I just took it close to my heart, but I really made change. Yeah, maybe it made me feel a bit upset, but at the same time, it made me be realistic about my value proposition, and made some changes as well to really make sure that next time when I'm asked this question, I know what to say.
Exactly, exactly. Very well said. Well, that's the main reason, why we're having these conversations. Because if you can do it, then some person, doesn't matter what their background is, they can also do it, right? It's just a matter of trying. It's
Yes.
just a matter of hitting to one place quite long enough so that you can actually achieve something. Or, as you said, if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. You just have to quit and
Yeah,
then
you
iterate
can
and then
still have
do
the
something else.
entrepreneurial mindset, but you can test another assumption instead, because it doesn't mean that you wasted your time. In the US, and the number of startups you failed makes you more successful. It may be perceived
Exactly.
differently in different countries, but I mean, I rely on what other, the Silicon Valley founders think, so that makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah. Thank you so
Perfect.
much, Fidan. Thank you so much. Your thoughts are very valuable. Your story is very inspiring. And you, as an individual who is not only thinking about commercialization, having a unicorn, being a billionaire, millionaire, everybody has this mindset, right? Whenever, especially when they're doing a startup. But your mission here is also about making a difference and impact. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this
Thank you so much
conversation.
for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.